Shalom, welcome to the Jewish View. My name is Rabbi Nachman Simon with the Chabados of Delmar, and we have a very special guest with us today, Jessica Sternlicht. Jessica, welcome to the Jewish View.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Well, you're a local yokel here in Bethlehem, and you have a very special story because you were in Israel, but why don't you start from the beginning, why you decided to go to Israel for the summer, how you spent your summer vacation, what you were doing, where you are on campus. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sure. I'll be a junior in the fall at SUNY New Paltz, and the reason I went to Israel on the program called Israel Links is it's a more in-depth experience than Birthright, and we were able to tour sites and
well, tell us what Birthright is. You were on Birthright already?
Yes.
So what's Birthright, first of all?
Birthright.
What was Birthright? You went last year? Or?
Yeah.
All right, so tell us what Birthright is.
Birthright is a week and a half program, and you tour Israel, the basic sites. So you go to the Dead Sea, you go to Masada.
You don't have to pay anything? Or?
It is free of charge for college students.
Just to give them a good feeling of Israel.
Yes.
You get to tour a lot. So now you graduated Birthright. What did you do this summer? So this is even a more intense program.
Yes. This summer, the added component was that we learned for 3 hours in the morning before we toured Israel.
How long did you go for?
I was on the program for 2.5 weeks, and I extended with my family for a week and
You have family in Israel?
Yes.
Very good. So you learned, you sang half a day for the most part, and then toured for the most part, learned for half a day and toured half a day?
It was probably more than half the day that we toured. We learned for the early morning. After lunch, we were out on foot.
And what you were learning, I mean, these students must be from, were they from all over the United States, over the world?
It's a Chabad on campus program, so it's an international program. People were there from Colombia, Russia, England, and of course America.
Very good. And but they had also probably different various educations. I mean, some people could read Hebrew, I assume. I don't know myself. I'm finding out.
It was people of all different backgrounds were on this trip. So some were conservative. No one was particularly Orthodox. Most people were conservative.
Really?
Maybe modern conservative, but that's...
Yeah, pretty much that was it. So they had various educational backgrounds also, or they knew basic Hebrew?
For the most part, most people did not know basic Hebrew.
Really?
Which made it interesting, I guess, to navigate Israel with that.
So they taught Hebrew as part of the course, or?
We learned a few words.
Well, it's hard to learn everything in a few weeks anyway. So we have a book here, Israel Thinks. So this was your textbook?
Yes, it was.
And for example, you want to teach us something or tell us something about it, or?
Sure. Can I open
Yeah,
it?
go ahead. Take.
The lesson that I found most interesting, I'll read it, the pasuk in English. All Israel have a share in the world to come, as it is stated. And your people are all tzaddikim, they shall inherit the land forever. They are the branch of my planting, the work of my hands, in which I take pride. When we studied this pasuk, we learned about what happens after death and the Jewish perspective on that. And I found it interesting. The rabbi on the program, he explained that it's hell and heaven are the same thing, but it's how you perceive it. It's how your perspective looks at it. So he explained that your body is on rent from Hashem, and that the more mitzvot that you do, the easier the transition will be from hell to heaven. And I found that interesting. I think I never really thought about my body being on rent from Hashem. But because it's on rent from Hashem, it's more of the spiritual essence that counts. And because of that, you should do more mitzvot.
That's excellent. So how many students were there? I mean, in one group, or there were many groups?
There are 4 Israel Links trips that took place this year, and on my trip there were approximately 50 people.
Oh, that's a lot.
50 students.
So you made a lot of new friends? I mean,
From
did you
all
go
over.
with anybody from New Paltz?
Yeah, I went with my soon-to-be roommate on the trip named Amanda,
All right.
and so it was fun to be able to go with my friend.
And you made new friends, of course, I would think.
Yeah, from Russia and London and California and
Really,
all
so-
over.
Usually I'd always say, like, I guess I'm old-fashioned pen pals, but I guess now with emails and
Facebook, yeah.
yeah, no, it's just you don't say pen pals anymore. 'Cause it's easier than to write. So besides the learning, I mean, you said you were touring. So what are the interesting different? Did you go to different places that you went to last year?
Besides the Kotel, we didn't go.
Well, where is it in Jerusalem? Where were you centered anyway?
For the first week and a half, we were centered in Tzfat, and for 1 week, we were centered in Yerushalayim.
In Jerusalem.
Yes.
What was in a dorm room? I mean, 50 students is a lot of.
We were in hotels.
Really, they gave you it was
Yeah.
nice hotels, so they really treated you well.
The first one, it provided 3 meals a day, which was nice, and in Yerushalayim, we had 2 meals a day, and the accommodations were really nice.
Oh, it's very excellent. They treated you nicely.
We were treated very well.
Well, I just should tell our viewers that, I mean, it's interesting here that they're taking young college students to Israel, and of course, if you have money, you can do whatever you want. I mean, you can fly and you can go to nice hotels here for nothing. Most normal time you get nothing, but here they're providing scholarship for students, and they feel that the Israeli experience is incredible. I mean, the people in America, and of course, so many Jewish students are in America, but you're like a fish in a big lake in an ocean. How many Jewish students there are? You don't feel Jewish, even in New York, let alone in other campuses around the world, and you just feel like you're at home. That would be the main thing. A lot of students have just changed their attitude. Have you changed your attitude about Israel or the Jewish people while you were there?
I've always been pro-Israel, but this trip strengthened that.
Because in the political sense or the religious sense? I mean, just like it's
In
the
the
Jewish homeland.
In the Jewish homeland and also in the spiritual sense, I think learning in the morning definitely strengthened the spiritual sense, and it taught me more about Hashem.
Well, it must be so interesting because you go to Israel and you talk about Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and you talk about Jerusalem, and it's a far-off thought. You're halfway around the world in the United States, and then you're really living it. This is really it. This is you talk about the temple in Jerusalem. There it is. Or at least it's the Western Wall. At least some of it's still there. So it makes it more real that it's not just, some kind of fairy tale you learned about in Hebrew school, some far-off ancient idea. It's a living Judaism.
Right, and so on some days we would learn about these places and sites in the morning, and they would be incorporated into the studies, and then in the afternoon we'd tour them. So it really made it even more real. Yeah.
Real to you. So you went anywhere else besides Jerusalem, or you went to Tzfat, as a holy city? Maybe people should give a little background to the viewers. They don't know. Safed is how you say it in English.
Yes. We were stationed in Tzfat, and from Tzfat we toured across Israel. We went goat milking at a goat farm.
Yeah.
That was really fun.
You milked the goat yourself?
I milked a goat.
Did you drink it?
We made
Was
cheese
good?
afterwards.
Really?
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
pretty good.
On a kibbutz. We went to Sderot, which is right about a mile or so away from Gaza, and we spoke to the Chabad rabbi of Sderot, and he shared stories with us about the living so close to Gaza and the rocket fire, especially the war
just
from
to
last
explain
year.
it to the people, it's not just touring around. You're almost on the front, a battlefront. I mean, many times it was battlefront. Now it's a little quiet, wasn't it? Or hopefully it was quiet. There's always some incident over here going on.
Yeah, it was definitely nerve-wracking to be there, to know that you're so close to danger and terrorism. But listening to the Chabad rabbi's story, it was really interesting. He was sent as an emissary there, and he built the Chabad house from scratch, basically. And he helps bring Judaism to Sderot and encourages more people to live there and to move there and settle there.
You talk to any of the people there? I mean, it must be nerve-wracking. You're saying living near the front and a mortar shell can come flying in at any moment's notice.
Yeah, we only spoke to the Chabad rabbi in terms of residents that live there, but he explained that when the siren sounds, you have 15 or 7, I think it was 15 seconds to get to a shelter in time. which is not a lot of
I know,
time.
yeah. You better start running.
Yeah.
That's all.
And then while we were in Sderot, we visited the fortified playgrounds, which it was sad. They have structures on the playgrounds that look kid-friendly, like a caterpillar, but it's a giant caterpillar, and it's a bomb shelter inside that the children can run to if the siren
Right
goes off.
inside. You just go inside and it's bomb-proof. It's a shame that kids have to live that way over here.
Yeah, it was very sad. But it's also interesting that they have so much pride to live so close.
They don't want to move.
They don't want to move.
It's interesting always, the strength of the people that, they could run away and be closer to safety. But, I mean, you intertwine with any of the people. I mean, in Safed and Jerusalem. You talk to many of the people there?
Yeah, on Shabbat in Tzfat and in Jerusalem, we went to host families for the meal. And so all of the 50 people on the trip, we broke up into small groups. I was with my roommate Amanda, and we were assigned different houses to visit and to have meals with at these families. So we got to speak to the residents in that. They
spoke English? I mean, these were American families? Or?
They were not American families, but most of them were able to speak
English.
We got by.
All right, so it's interesting. You got a real flavor for the country. Again, sometimes you go tour, you go in France, Eiffel Tower, you don't even get to meet a real Frenchman, to get a feeling for the land. And so I'm saying you went to outside places, you met, the border town. It's not just 5-star hotels and everything is glitzy, but, you saw real people and real situations.
Yeah, and to differentiate again between this program, Israel Links, and Birthright, Israel Links definitely gave you a greater sense of independence on the trip. For example, during Shabbat, when we were walking to our host families, we were not escorted. They just gave us a map and said, this is where you got to be. Get there at 12:30 or so.
And Birthright,
Birthright was constant monitoring your every move. Like, you couldn't leave the group.
Yeah.
But on this trip, you were able to leave and walk on foot around and explore the area. And in Tzfat, if we were ever in Tzfat when we were stationed there and we did not have a class and we did not have an activity planned, we were able to walk around the city and explore on our own, which was really cool.
There's some really holy sites, though, in Safed. Did you get to see where the mystical teachers in the past years were in Safed?
No, we didn't. Though we were stationed in Tzfat, we were stationed there and then we explored the other areas. We went to a mikveh in Tzfat, but other than that,
There was the Arizal's mikveh, Isaac Luria's.
I don't recall the name of it.
He's a very holy man. There's a very holy, mystical city that you were in.
Yeah, we actually went to all 4 of the holy cities on our trip, which again is something that you wouldn't do on Birthright. When going off of that, we went to Hebron on our trip, which was an amazing experience.
Again, it's interesting because, like you say, they gave you individual liberties, we say, and even bringing you to a battlefront. Not many people will go there. And Hebron, just for our viewers, why don't you tell us the historical meaning of what this city is?
The patriarchs are buried in Hebron, and it's a very holy city. If you would like to add.
Yeah. Well, it's very holy in that sense, but I'm a little bit mentioning that there's conflicts throughout Israel. Like I say, it's a small country, and you go to a border and have mortars and bomb shelters, like we say in Hebron. There's sometimes many uprisings, so it's not the safest neighborhood in the world. I have always a cute little story. This is many years ago, and a person was getting into Judaism, and his mother was going to go visiting Israel. Says, "Mom, be sure to see Hebron." It's a real story, because he knew Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, a holy city, like you're saying. So she turned to her tour guide and said, "I'd like to go. My son told me to visit Hebron." The tour guide says, "You get along with your son." Over here, it's like someone would go into the ghetto, like that. "Oh, you're visiting in New York. Be sure to take a midnight walking tour of Harlem or something." That would be equivalent. Yeah. They thought, she says, "Yeah, my son, I get along with my son." He just, he didn't, I think things quieted down, but in the meantime, that was many years ago. But like I say, it's interesting that a lot of tours will avoid, so to speak, these, going to the front and Chevron, they don't want anybody in danger, lose their whole reputation if anybody, God forbid, got hurt.
Right, and we rode a bulletproof bus to Chevron,
Really?
added security, I guess. But relating it back to what we learned in class, the rabbi consistently reemphasized that though it's a dangerous place to go now, but what God wants is what will happen. So
you got to protect yourself also. I guess that's why they have bulletproof. But it's worth it. Sometimes it teaches you to be a Jewish person. Sometimes it's difficult. I mean, you see Jews around the world. It's just that, like in France, you got to just stand up and say, "Hey, I am who I am." Is there back to maybe campus? They do talk about anti-Semitism on college campuses. Do you see anything at SUNY New Paltz, or it's fairly quiet?
Relatively quiet. However, recently the Students for Justice and Peace in Palestine school club, they are petitioning to ban sabra hummus because it's an Israeli product.
Oh, really?
But
it's terrible. Trying to make some peace with, you're trying to make a correlation and just peace with people, and they're trying to boycott things. It's not so nice over here. But, I guess that's what I'm saying. You have to have a flavor that you can either shirk, your Judaism, they're giving me troubles, or, now you're more of a proud Jew, and you see what people put up with just to be Jewish, because it's a privilege.
It is.
That's an important... It's one of the important, just for our viewers, that's a little bit of the thing, just so you're so proud of, for Israel, what they have done, taking a desert and making it bloom, and like how many wars every few years, there's some kind of war or another. It's difficult, young people, unfortunately, just like yourself, a young woman would have to go into the Israeli army. Here, even boys don't go in the United States, there's no draft. And a young girl would probably, so the religious girls don't go, but still other girls do go. And, just to defend the land, it's that important to them. Again, you can run away, and many of the Israelis probably do, but in any case, come to America. But on the other hand, people are staying and they're fighting and they know it's worth it. So, again, a little bit, I guess, that's they're trying to instill inside of college students also. Hey, and life's a little tough sometimes, but you stand up for being Jewish and stand up for Israel.
Right. There's something else I'd like to talk about.
Go ahead, sure.
There's a program called Sinai Scholars, and that was not a necessary prerequisite, but a prerequisite nonetheless, to Israel links. And in Sinai Scholars, we learned about the Ten Commandments.
This is in campus.
Yes.
Oh, this is in America. All right.
In America, Sinai Scholars is an on-campus program. We met once a week for 2 hours for approximately 8 or 10 weeks. And
this is with your Chabad
with
rabbi.
Our Chabad rabbi. And we learned about the Ten Commandments. And so Israel Links was it's the next step. It was the follow-up to Sinai Scholars. And after completing Sinai Scholars, you were able to receive a scholarship towards Israel Links.
Give a shout out to who's your Chabad rabbi at
Rabbi
New Paltz.
Plotkin.
All right. He's very good. Yeah, I'm friends with him. He's doing an incredible job. And New Paltz is, what is it, about an hour and a half south of Albany?
Less than that, yeah,
really?
about an hour.
That's not that bad.
A few minutes.
Not bad.
Yeah.
So he's working with the college students. That's Chabad, like we were saying. This is really Chabad on campus. I don't know if this booklet it has there, if you can really see it on the camera. But Chabad, I think, is mostly on every college campus that's in the United States. And, just for our audience, college kids are vulnerable. The students with their parents until 18, and, they have a traditional home. But then, like I say, you're in a foreign environment and you're all by yourself. And on top of it, there's a little anti-Semitism. So you may say, oh, I'm not that Jewish. You don't want to associate with Jewish people. So, this gives us strength and it's a turning point for kids. Obviously, they don't sometimes have a career or a pathway. They're searching for what kind of life they're looking for, and just Chabad's trying to lean them to be more of a Jewish influence and love for Israel. What are your career, once we're talking about career goals? You have yet, or a lot of college kids don't. So.
No, I'll be a junior, so I am hopefully there. I hope to be a speech pathologist.
Oh, very good.
So
A lot of Jewish girls into that. So it's a natural teaching. Nothing natural, but I mean a lot of Jewish. I guess our rabbi's a teacher also, so I should say that. But it's interesting. I know a lot of Jewish girls in teachers, special ed, speech. So it's a very Jewish, I guess. I mean, just helping other people also. That's very good. Have you something to say like that? You've come back and now to be more active on campus. Once you have these this learning from Sinai scholars and now in Israel, just to be more active in the Jewish community. I mean, you have plans for that.
Yeah,
so you have a few more years in college. Yeah,
absolutely. Amanda and I were talking about this, my friend from the trip, and we hope to create. On campus we have Shabbat services and Shabbat dinner, but that's only on Friday night, and so we would like to do something on Saturday morning and Saturday afternoon as well.
Gather your friends, because actually the truth of the matter is, of course, a rabbi is so important. Thank you over here, plug for myself. But on the other hand, other students themselves say, hey, come on over, we're having a good time. That goes a lot further than the rabbi asking the student, hey, come on over, and do some learnings. Oh, you're a rabbi, and things like that. But, your friends, hey, you have other friends, come on over, we'll do something good over
Right.
there.
So a big part of Chabad on campus is people extending out to their friends who are Jewish, and even people who aren't their friends, just anyone that's Jewish on campus that they know of, and trying to bring them over and give them a flavor of Chabad.
The socialism,
yeah.
The social pressure, so to speak, is nice. They see other friends. Hey, I want to be friends, and doing something Saturday morning. And
yeah, I'd say actually that's about how almost everyone at Chabad was recruited, is through their friends.
Different friends
Yeah.
to the others.
One friend brings another and another.
Do you have plans maybe to go back to Israel? I guess one day, or I guess we all want to go back with the Messiah, with the Mashiach, but still, it's still the love. Would you want to live in Israel? Or, that's I know a lot of people in Capital District do. I know it's it's more difficult to live in Israel than America, but
I think it is more difficult to live in Israel than in America, and because of that, I'm not sure I'd be ready to live in Israel yet, but it's something to consider.
Yeah, no, it's important. I'm not pushing that. That's the beauty of Chabad. A lot of Zionist groups say you have to live in Israel or you're not really a good Jewish person. And Chabad said, hey, be a good Jewish person no matter where you are. If you want to go to Israel, then fine. Chabad is strong in Israel, but like I say, we're strong on campuses. Chabad is good all over the world, no matter where you are. Like you were saying, make your environment. That's the main idea. Be a good Jewish person and extend out, like you were saying.
Exactly.
Definitely.
And speaking of Chabad in Israel, we visited the Kfar Chabad headquarters, and that was pretty interesting to see the replica of 770.
Yeah. Well, just saying that, again, it's interesting that many people say, quote unquote, the ultra-Orthodox are against Israel, and maybe few are. I'm not saying they're not. On the other hand, the Chabad group, even from the beginning, the Rebbe, even in 1940s when they were just starting, and Lubavitch is from Russia, so they're cutting out of Russia right after World War II and saying, instead of coming to America, go to Israel and set it up there. So they're really, that's what I'm saying, many of Israel are really, all Israelis, even if they're not religious, have a tremendous respect for Chabad. They go into the army, the religious Jews, again, you always hear about, the religious Jews don't go into the Israeli army. That's not true of Chabad. And they have, like you were just saying, a beautiful city, Kfar Chabad, and, just building up the land for itself, being safe, being prosperous, and that's what you want out of life.
Yeah, and speaking of Chabad's connections in Israel and their support for Israel, this trip was very easygoing and relaxed. We'll leave at 1:30, we leave at 2, and it was okay. And so on one of the days we went on a hike, the Jilabun hike, which was a really cool waterfall, and we were supposed to go, I'm not sure where we were supposed to go after, but I know we were kind of pressed for time, and there was a tour guide on our bus that day, and he is from a Chabadnik, and he's friendly with the army base near this hike, and we brought ice pops, and then we spontaneously visited the army base, and they did a few demonstrations for us, which was really cool. But they were saying Chabad does so much for us that, like, letting a tour bus in for a few minutes, like, what?
You wouldn't see that in America.
Yeah.
Okay, we just wanted to visit you, do something.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's a little bit loose. It's interesting, obviously, an army has to be disciplined, and in government's discipline. But you see that Jewish kind of, hey, we're all family, we're all mishpacha, you say, so even we let down the barriers a little bit.
Yes.
So all right, so you had a beautiful time in Jessica in Israel, and that's very important. We only have a few more minutes. Do you want to say anything maybe to other students, or that they would, if they're thinking about going?
Yeah, definitely. I'd say that anyone who has already been on Birthright, I would 100% recommend the Israel Links program to them, especially those who would like a more learning-based program. And not only that, just a more in-depth program to see things and tour sites that you wouldn't ordinarily see, like Hebron and Sderot. Like, those are places I never thought I would go to, and I was really nervous to go to them. But it was a really good trip, and I'm glad. I was very thankful I was able to visit them.
It's excellent. I mean, it's coming from, again, I could say the same thing as a rabbi, go to Israel and learn. But, like that, a real student that was in college, and you've linked up, and it's a growth. That's what it's for. That, these Israeli programs, that's what's meant to be. Obviously, people are funding it, and they just want to instill inside the Jewish students on campus that, not only a love for Israel, like you say, you go back and bring that enthusiasm back into other students wherever they are. So, Jessica, we're looking for good things from you, not only in your studies, of course, and we give you success, give a blessing for success in your studies, but as a good Jewish student and expanding on campus. So thank you very much for being on the Jewish View.
Thank you for having me.